Hello and welcome to this week's episode of MEyou Music Podcast. This marks our 19th episode, so hey, congratulations to us. Now, joining us this week, we got Machin from Arcaeon, which is awesome. Great prog band, kind of coming out from nowhere, 2017. Bit of a crazy time for you guys to had been starting Arcaeon, but you guys managed to do some really cool stuff. So welcome to the show, Sam. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's cool to have you, man. So starting out, you guys came out with Balance, the EP, and that's kind of where I remembered you from. Back in the time, I've actually got you on Facebook, and I remember at that time seeing all your shares around Balance. It was really interesting EP. It was a lot prettier than Cascadence, your 2021 release.
Yeah.
It was much more melodic grooves in there, really pretty album. You still had some heavy moments, but it's very, very pretty. And then, 2021, you came out with Cascadence. That was just so much riffs, so much more heavy, some beautiful vocal parts in there as well. That one kind of hits heavier for sure, hits harder. The thing that I love so much about you guys is that you made the game. You made the game for Zenith 2, Arcadia, and we actually spoke about this on an earlier podcast, so you guys did that for your merch, which is just
cool.
So funny. Because if I remember, didn't you used to put the game on like Game Boy cartridges?
So yeah, we sold it as a physical thing as well. We're going to keep doing it. I wasn't able to get the carts recently, but I can get them again now. So we're going to do that for the next lot of shows. Yeah, they're like immensely popular. We thought we'd sell like one or two, but whenever we've sold out 3 times, which is crazy. So people who've like never even listened to our band will just buy them because they think it's cool, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But like you'd have to give me a lot of money to do a Game Boy Music OST again. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any writing for the band, harder than literally like the most difficult, challenging thing. It's like there's this process of elimination for the whole the whole writing of that stuff, of like getting the guitar tabs. If you think about like what 7-string guitar, and then you've got 2 7-string guitars in the band, you've got 6-string bass, and that's already that many notes. A Game Boy can do 3, so it's just mental. So it's just like this process of elimination, just getting everything down to its most basic level and still having like the vocal melody be in there. So yeah, that was like super hard. But it was cool. It was really worth it. It was like being able to have the jukebox mode on there and have all the tracks selectable and playable. It's like we released the record like a few different ways, because we did the normal the record as like the standalone one with the vocals and like the way it's supposed to be listened to, I suppose. And then we did the instrumental version, and then we did a Sega Mega Drive remix version of the whole thing, and we released it on the Game Boy cards. So we really like kind of released that album 4 times. It's quite cool. But yeah, the games are sick. I'm looking forward to getting some of those more of those in the inventory, because it's like a really cool thing to be able to do at shows, is set up a games console at the merch stand, and we have to tell people like, go and watch the other band. It's pretty cool.
No, man.
It's a big sell point, because you're not going to see many people do that. It's so unique for you guys. Especially these days, being a small band, you need to have that thing which sets you out, sets you apart, and having your own game is definitely one of them. How did you actually create the game? Who created the game?
So I put it into IVN's head because I found it's an engine called, what's it called? Game Boy Studio, I think, something like that. And I was just like, oh, you could make a game. You could put us in a game with this thing. This is quite cool. And like, he just jumped on the idea. He had loads of time during the pandemic, so he just started doing it. Like, I didn't say like, oh, you should definitely do this. We need to do this and plan it as like a merch thing. He just started doing it. And that he was working on it all the time. Like when we were filming our music video, he was working on it and just like perfecting little things. I think it's basically the same engine as like Pokemon. Like that game, it's the same kind of assignable elements and stuff like that they would have used, but put down into like an interface that's a bit easier to use, I think. But when I found out that you could actually have music from it, and there was no easy way to do like a MIDI conversion or anything like that. It was very much I had to use tracker software, which is like ancient. It's the sort of thing that it's incredibly difficult to get your head around. But yeah, it just kind of happened, which is cool. We didn't really force it. It didn't feel really forced at all. It was just like, okay, cool, we can make a game. That'd be cool. That'd be like a cool thing to work on. And he just did it. He just like from using that editor, just made the game in that. And then I figured out a way to burn onto carts the game, as well as do the music as well, and have the music integrated as part of the file. Just kind of firing questions about sort of like, is this working? Get them to test it, see if there's any bugs or problems with the music, because it's code. It's not just normal audio files. You're triggering the sound chip inside a Game Boy. So yeah, it just kind of happened. It was just like a cool idea that we thought would be interesting, and it just kind of just materialized into this really cool thing. I don't own one. I really
I was going to ask.
It'd be nice to actually have my own copy of it. We did it.
Well, you can actually
see-through purple.
like for any of the listeners as well, you can play it on your browser. You guys have it set up on a website, arcaeon.itch.io. It's called Arcadia by Arcaeon. The little description: travel through puzzling levels as members of progressive metal band Arcaeon find their source of power, defeat an evil foe, and ultimately gain access to their personal paradise. It's beautiful. It does look like a fun little game. I only found out that it's actually a browser game the other day, because I thought that you had to have it on Game Boy. So I've got to have a go at it. It just looks hilarious.
If you get stuck, watch the video, because the video is just a speed run of the game. That's like another clever thing we tied in. We released the video as like just a fast playthrough of the game. So if people are like, oh, I can't get past the second level, because like people get really stuck on it. He made the puzzles like perfectly hard because it's a really small game. So yeah, just watch the video, and you'll that's like the solution to all the puzzles in the game is in the video. So guess
that's Zenith 2 Arcadia.
That's the one.
That's so funny. Yeah. Like, do you have any other crazy merch for you guys? Or is that the one for you?
We had a 3D t-shirt that was quite cool. So you could wear 3D glasses and it would be like the old school red and blue 3D. And that was cool. We haven't made anything like that since. There was a crazy thing that happened with those, because they came to us and they were printed wrong. This is like the day before we were supposed to play at Tech Fest, when we have those t-shirts kind of come out. And like Reese he's quite really good on a technical level, just about anything. And he was like, oh, they've just done the colors around the wrong way. Like he figured out like, oh, they pressed the colors like I think it was like 2 colors, and they did it the wrong way round, so it just didn't work. And so we got in touch with them, and they let us keep the old ones, which is really safe, and just delivered to the festival site all the new ones in the space of a day, and got it right, and it worked. So that was really lucky. And because we didn't know if it was going to work, we were like, well, it's definitely not right. This doesn't look right at all. Ivan's like panicking because he did the design for it, and then they delivered them to the festival site, and we're like, yes, cool, they work. And they went down really well. We sold out on those really quick. That was probably the other cool merch. I want to do another 3D t-shirt with Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go back to the old Carlton days.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, cool. Was that next
wasn't it?
Yeah, sick. That was cool.
You know with with Arcaeon, you've got a logo, kind of like a symbol, the diamond, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like whenever you play a show or whatever, it's always there, just above your name, just above Arcaeon. I think that's a really cool, unique way of also just setting yourself up on like posters and just ways to advertise yourself.
Yeah.
You kind of recognize the band through the symbol. Whereas, if I was going to go see, like, I've got a death metal gig coming up on Saturday, I don't know who the fuck half the people are, because it's so hard to read death metal names. Like, we all love them, but like, it's so hard to actually know who the fuck you're seeing when you can't read the names. It's just how it is. But so if they had a symbol or something, at least I could be like, oh yeah, it's them. I don't have to read them.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
man.
So at least with Arcaeon, it sets you apart.
It's like really marketable, because I wanted to have a name. There's like a trend with Reading bands where you make a name up like out of 2 different words that doesn't really mean anything. It's like biatrophy, pterychi, psilosis. They don't mean nothing, and they're just made up words. But there's no other. If it's not associated to another word or a film or a saying. Like when we had Clockwork, it was really difficult because you type in Clockwork into Google and you just get loads of images of clocks, and you get loads of Clockwork Orange stuff, and you get loads of different stuff. It's really difficult to market that as a brand name. So I was like, right, we need to think of a name that's like 2 words combined that doesn't really mean anything. So you can kind of interpret it like to be whatever you want it to be, which is kind of cool. But it's also cool because we can type the logo. You can do you can actually type that logo as an A in the middle, and then the pointy brackets either side. I kind of figured that out and was like, oh, you can actually make it on a if you type it in, and that's quite cool because we can put that in posts and stuff. And it's one of the things I've not really seen before, that you don't get people who are able to actually just type their logo into a box and it's just like, oh, it's that band. So it's quite cool. I've always thought that's kind of like cool. A bit kind of gimmicky, but it's nice to have that stuff and be able to say like, oh yeah, it's a way of sort of marketing ourselves. Yeah.
Because even like big names and stuff, you don't tend to see them have an emblem representing them. It's always just a name. So it's another way to say stuff.
That Majesty Dream Theater I always really liked. It's like because they were called Majesty, and then they renamed themselves Dream Theater, but they still carry on using that Majesty symbol throughout their career, and that's like them sort of thing. That's one of the reasons I think we wanted to do something like that. So try and be like Dream Theater.
Oh yeah, I actually see it here. I've got it here, like M kind of on a spacey background. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like the Majesty symbol. Loads of people have got it tattooed and stuff. Someone's got our logo tattooed, which is
that is wild. Yeah.
So you're also part of the Arusha Accord. Tell us what's happening with these guys right now. Tell us how far you're at with them.
So we've been writing for ages, and there's just been sort of like personal life stuff. I think just I wouldn't say holding it back, because it's like a really kind of like casual project for everybody. We kind of just do it occasionally, and like we meet up every so often. It's very sort of, it's slow, but for a good reason. I think Luke's really particular when it comes to writing and like composing. He does music in a way I've never seen anyone do it before. He's like super meticulous, just about every tiny little thing, every detail. He's just like super keyed in on. So that takes a while. And then just people doing stuff. Everyone's sort of like starting families and stuff like that there. And so they're kind of just taking it really nice and slow and easy. And there's a lot of music written. There's a ton of music written for that project. That's kind of, it's just kind of sat there, which is a shame. But it's been worked on, so there is some progress on it, which is cool. But there isn't any sort of like news or any sort of soon attached to that band, but it's there, which is cool. And it's been a lot of fun to work on. It's really good music, and it's the sort, they're a band that I liked when they were first around and really looked up to. So to be kind of approached and asked about doing the guitar for them when Tom left to do Sony, he just immediately said, if you're going to get anyone, get me, which I was really grateful for, because they're, that's big shoes to fill, because he's great, and they're just really talented, like strangely talented dudes. There's Clayton doesn't even practice guitar; he just picks it up and he can play it.
Silent assassin.
Just that kind of person. Yeah, man. Nah, he's the sort of board guy. Like most of the time, he was like a little accountant bloke that goes around and helps people with their money and stuff, and then picks up a guitar. And he's just a complete demon. He's a beast. He's like got the craziest picking hand. Like he's got like akin to John Brown, like that kind of like just crazy attack when he plays. And yeah, and they're all really awesome dudes and good musicians. I don't get to see them as much as I like, because everyone's like super busy doing stuff. But I get like drip fed occasionally through people and see what they're doing. I teach Mark's wife guitar, which is quite cool. So I get to see like, oh, how's Mark doing and stuff. What's going down? Like, is it any closer to getting a drum studio set up, all that kind of thing. So it's there. It's just like running very quietly in the background. There's a big mass of demos on my computer that I've occasionally shown the odd person at TechFest that people are very excited about, and just kind of blare it through some speakers. And there's a lot of really cool, interesting stuff going on. There isn't a band like them, I don't think. There's, especially with this new stuff that they've that we've been working on. It's very I've just never heard any music like it. There's been a couple of moments where I'm just like, this is one of the best things I've ever heard. It's really fun to be part of that. I feel quite honoured to have even just played a small part in being part of that band. Yeah,
that's great, man. Yeah, I remember listening to some of the old Arusha Accord years ago, and they've stuck in my head since. Like, it's not someone you can easily forget, is it? But it's quite memorable music.
It's very
It's so
different.
unique.
Then I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like kind of, you could hear the influences a bit. Like obviously it's like the whole Architects thing. I think they were almost kind of competing to be the techiest band at the time. But yeah, the way it's gone now is like totally. It's like it's not a totally different band. There's bits still there, and that it'll be cool because it's like we'll do a old Arusha style section, was kind of what we'll refer it to, or like a classic Arusha section, which would be, I think, from sort of like the first thing that they ever released, like the Nightmares of the Ocean EP. There's like stuff like that kind of littered in there, and a couple of bits that sound like echo verses in there. But for the most part, it's very cool, very different sounding. Like like I said, no one writes music like Luke does. I've never seen anyone just kind of come up with stuff the way he does. I don't think he sees it or listens to it like a band. He's just kind of doing the notes on the page and just kind of going with it, and writing top lines and stuff. A lot more like a composer, I would say, than sort of just a average bandmate writing tunes on guitar pro. He still uses guitar pro to write, which is cool. And it always translates really well. I found sometimes if you use guitar pro to write, it can be quite static. But yeah, he manages to just get it to like swell and crescendo in this really awesome way. There's just this whole flow of how he does it, that it always sounds good. I've never noticed a bit sound like particularly static because he spends so much time on the movements and stuff, and how everything kind of joins together, and it's like very meticulous about the way he writes. And yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it's just I wish I had more to say about sort of plans and stuff like that, but yeah, for the time being, it is what it is.
Talking about writing, what's your kind of approach when you're creating the guitar parts for Arcaeon? Like, well, how do you interpret the ideas?
Cool, that's a good question. I'll be noodling and I'll come up with something. If like it's a particular moment, you train yourself, I think, as like a guitar player, to notice those little bits where you realise, oh, this is really good. I'm going to use that. Like it's almost like kind of, it always happens when you don't want to write, when you're just kind of taking it easy and chilling with it, as opposed to making an effort to write, I think. And there'll be just like a part that sticks out and be like, oh, that's great. That's the song. And then just write the song around that idea, basically, and just kind of go for it. I think Pliny said something really interesting about like relating architecture to music, where it's like if you get a really nice kind of looking restaurant with all red chairs and you stick a green chair in there, it's going to stick out. It's not quite right. So I always kind of use that base idea, that first idea, to be sort of like my plan, if you will, of designing this say like a song is like a building with its interior bits and its decorations, and kind of go on that thing and just kind of take all the sort of ideas that I can from that one single idea and just kind of work them and weave them around that. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes I'll just sit down and it'll just happen, which is nice. That's awesome when it happens. So you just sit down and you just do a whole song in a day or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, that just happened. And sometimes it will take a bit longer. But yeah, it's a real mixed bag when it comes to writing, I think. Occasionally I'll be like super inspired. I normally have little blocks. I go between two different modes. So I've got this mode where I write constantly and just constantly want to do music and band stuff, and then I'll have a block where I just want to play video games. So it's kind of like, and I can't choose when that is. I can't like just say like, oh, I'm gonna have like a video game week this week. It's always just like, oh, I really don't want to write anything. I'm just not feeling it right now. It comes and goes. And at the moment, I'm kind of in between the two. It's a weird one. But yeah, when it happened to happen, so we pretty much, I don't want to say anything too soon, but like I've written another album as well, just for Archeon stuff, in the space of like the start of at the end of last year over Christmas. Had a really good balance of like just like doing a bit of gaming and writing at the same time, which was really lovely. And then had like a little break from writing, and then like absolutely smashed loads and loads of songs, and ended up writing sort of enough for the next release is basically sorted. And Reese is kind of tagging on with writing some of his tunes. It's normally a case of I'll write a song and he'll write a song, so it's like separate. Occasionally we'll meet up if we want like a little bit of help with some of the ideas from each other. It's more or less just sitting there and saying yes and no, really, when we meet up. Just like, yeah, that's cool. It's nice to have that person with you, and then we kind of like form some ideas. So occasionally it'll be me and him, but most of the time it's like we're writing sort of separately. Like a couple of the songs on Cascaded were just him, and a couple were just me. I think there was one where we wrote over Skype and one where we wrote in person as well. But yeah, most of the time it's just our own thing. Like you can tell Reese on, I think they're normally a bit more heavy and chuggy and sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Not ignorant, but it just has
bit of an edge to it or
vibe
something.
where it's a bit more groovy. It's a bit more. Yeah, like a bit more rhythm guitar orientated than with me. I'm sort of more about like trying to show off all the time. I think.
It's good to have a mutual respect between the two of you, though.
Stuff.
Like, you know, just to be able to, you know, say yeses between you.
I've never thrown anything away of his. So I'll always say like, that's good, and we could use this for something if it's not quite right, if it doesn't sit on the CD or something of well, the album. That we'll always like agree on what's maybe a little bit too cutesy and out there if it's supposed to be a heavy track or something. He does have a habit of like going from like the heaviest possible thing to like the cutesiest thing, which can work sometimes, I think. But yeah, so yeah, it's just pretty much the ideas come from just normally just a guitar riff. That's for me the thing, or like just an idea that I've got going around in my head or something like that, and it will happen sort of. I will never plan it. It's always by mere sort of like stroke of just like, oh, there's a light bulb moment, let's go.
Chance encounters.
That's cool.
That's it, man. Yeah.
You've done well with your chance encounters. You've quite a few good ones.
I'll keep looking for them. I think that's the idea. Though, is it's only really going to happen if you keep kind of trying and doing your best with it. Like I try and play as much guitar as I can. I'm lucky enough to work somewhere where I sell guitars as well, so it just means if I walk for my lunch down, I get enough time to play. And there's like, I've definitely come up with riffs at work a few times where I'm just like, yeah, cool, I'm going to record that on my phone, and got it go around in my head the whole day and there without being able to use the computer. So I'm just like thinking of stuff. By the time I get back, I'm like, yeah, cool, I think I've got this, which is cool. But yeah, but noodling's good. Like there's nothing wrong with noodling away on guitar. A lot of people say like, oh, it's not practice. It's, you know, you're not actually doing anything. You're just going around in circles. But like I find that just jamming a lot, like jamming to myself, and just trying to come up with stuff is it's just as good as practicing and working on your technique and your theory and stuff. I think just having that time to actually just go into a creative flow state, sometimes without even realizing it. But yeah, just to jam. Have some fun on your own, using your own, being creative. I think that plays a big part of me sort of coming up with ideas and putting music into a session and actually having it as a thing. I think finding that point of this is done is really hard sometimes. I've learned to be a little bit more sort of like not spend forever on it sort of thing. Just like once it's done to a certain point, just be happy with it and be like, cool, yeah, I'm not going to tweak on it anymore. It's hard to find that point, I think, sometimes, to say this is done, this is a finished thing sort of thing. I'm not changing the structure or adding anything else to it. And sometimes you wish you'd changed it, but it's just not the way it is. It's just how it's going to be. It's that point in time has been captured. That's what it means, sort of thing. So
big fan of that.
That's cool. Yeah, I have a dangerous obsession with noodling on instruments. That is my guilty pleasure right there. I get so carried away just improvising noise for so long, and then I'm like, should I actually sit down and focus on something or just continue noodling away? But even just noodling away is by far more fun. It's more fun to just noodle. That's for sure.
Even just having your phone on and recording that is sometimes good, because you can watch it back and be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to work on that. Like that's how I do it most of the time. I'll just kind of like record what I'm doing, regardless of whether I think I'm going to use it or not. It's just remembering to press that button and record a video or a sound clip or something of you jamming, and then eventually you'll stumble upon it and be like, why didn't I use that? I'm going to use that. I'm going to work on that. That's a great idea. Or at the time you didn't think it was good, and then you listen back to it and you think, oh, you know what? That's decent. Like that's happened a few times. But yeah.
So you guys, I believe it's coming soon, maybe even this Saturday. You're playing live with its existing model, right?
We are, yeah. That's after Tech Fest.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. So you've got quite a few shows coming up. Then you playing Tech Fest this year?
We are indeed.
Yeah, nice. So you got a little like.
That's really nice.
You don't have a full tour going, do you? You just got a few shows here and there going.
Worked on. Yeah, it's dotted around. We've got bits here and there coming up. Some stuff's being planned for the end of this year, and then we've got something. I can't really confirm anything about it, as you know what it's like.
No,
when
it's
people
fine.
say stuff like this, but there's something that we're working on for next year that's going to hopefully be sort of like a bit of a step up to the stuff we've done before, which is pretty cool. But it's nothing is finalized, and as usual, my expectations are super low. So I like to keep it that way, so I'm not disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping it will.
Always good to go that way.
Yeah, man. It's a weird thing about being a like musician and an artist and stuff, is that you do have to set your bar of expectations super low and not get your hopes up on stuff. I've had like my hopes up on things before, and it's not worked out and been like really defeated by it. But as I've done it more and more, I'm always like, it's terrible. I'll just be like, this show's gonna suck. When we get there, there's gonna be no one there. We're not gonna get paid. It's gonna suck. I always say that for every show. It's gonna be rubbish. And then when it's good, it's just like the nicest surprise. You just go in with like minimal expectations. But don't sulk about the minimal expectations. Just be like, it's probably gonna go terribly, and everyone's gonna hate us. And we have like 2 people there, and we're selling the thing, and we'll break down. You just got to expect the worst, and then
and just be happy with the good. Yeah.
If you were to set the expectation somewhat realistic, but somewhat like optimistic as to where you want the direction of the band to be heading now, where would you be setting it? You've already got Cascadence, you've got Balance out from 2018, which was just an EP, but it was still pretty, it was a great kickoff for an EP. I'd say it actually, it looked like it did quite well for an EP. It got a name for yourselves in the business. You've got a game, which is some sick little merch thing that you got going for yourself. Like, where would you like to project the band going forward?
I think it's an interesting one, because at the moment I've had to sort of think about this and put things into perspective a little bit. That I don't think at the moment, and maybe not for the next few years, that we could ever be a sort of like a professionally touring band. Like the amount of work that goes into and time that goes into being sort of like a professionally touring band when you're playing 5-6 months out of the year, if you want to actually do it pro. And that is an option for some people in our camp, because we've got like people with kids and stuff like that. So until we're a bit older, I don't think actually doing anything sort of like trying to do anything on a professional level is viable. And I'm kind of okay with that, because it's a good place to be when you kind of just you're expecting to just carry on working and carry on having fun with it. There's no it's like a crazy overhead or anything. We're still branching out, and we still want to do sort of like longer stretches of dates and stuff, but just consolidate them. But yeah, I'm not sort of too. I never think too much about like, what do we need to do to be this big, massive, great band? Like, I just want to just keep doing it and have fun doing it. I think that's the main thing, just to get our music in people's ears and have people enjoy it, I think is enough. And if that, I still think we can, and not sort of be on a sort of like a pro touring level, but just take opportunities where we can. And I think we're going to try and do the move where we're not playing in the same places too much. We're going to try and consolidate things into sort of longer stretches in the middle of the year, as opposed to do like lots of dotted weekend warrior kind of things where we're playing, London 3 times within the space of a few months. People will always just think, I'll just see them in the next one. But when you're only playing London once a year, and no one's seen you in ages, that's when you're going to get the bigger turnouts, when people are going, well, hopefully going to come to the show and appreciate seeing you. I don't know if we're on that kind of level yet, where there's an anticipation when we play. We get a fair few people down in London, which is really nice. It's been really nice every time we played there. It started to become quite like so going back to my expectations thing, it's probably goes against it a bit, but like it's always pretty good when we play in London. There's always like a nice amount of people coming down to the shows and stuff, and it feels like we're putting on a decent show each time as well, and the people are excited about it and the people are enjoying it, so that's good. But yeah, it's an interesting one, thinking about like future and stuff. I think just keep making music, really, keep doing what we're doing and see where it takes us. If we get any big opportunities, we'll try and do them to the best of our ability, given the circumstances for some people being a bit tied down by careers and having families and stuff like that. But yeah, just make the best of the time that we have, and keep making cool shit. I think it's on the agenda for this band.
It's a good agenda.
Nice. I feel like it is a good one. I feel like it'd be a good moment to play one of Arcaeon's tracks. So we're going to listen to Replicant off Cascadence, fourth track in. Let's have a little playthrough of it. Oh. I forgot one thing.
Share it.
I gotta share it. Started without you.
Creature of meat and bone, panting and sweating as you run through my corridors. How can you challenge a perfect immortal machine?
Hey. Oh, I love the glitch effects that you've got going through it, like the whole track. And it's got that kind of like, you put an effect on some of the riffs where it's kind of like, it sounds like you're listening for a Game Boy. You know, just like fucking, yeah, it's hilarious. But
That's cool.
It's funny as fuck, man. It's so funny because I listened to this album like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was a whole different Arcaeon to what I remember with Balance. And It was it was so unexpected, man. You guys just went so much heavier than Balance. Completely changed your vibe. It's sick. I love the new style. I'm kind of like wondering where's the direction with this new material going to be going. Are you gonna? Is it similar to Cascadence, or is it more on a new level from there?
So we've got like a bunch of there's sort of like 3 tracks that we're gonna put out. It's kind of revealing some information here, but that's okay. There's like we're gonna put singles out. We're gonna do the singles thing. It's just nice easy way to have like pockets of music coming out before we release the next full length, which we've kind of already finished as well. And then so the 3 ones are like a mixed bag. There's like one that's really heavy, there's one that's like a little bit more techy, and there's one that's really melodic. And it's like it's just so we're covering all the bases sort of thing. The one after that is fucking super ridiculous heavy and fast and nuts. So that's gives you an idea. So it's gone from sort of being like quite pretty and a little bit more sort of catchy and jingly and stuff, and then Cascadence. It's a kind of a mix. There's actually the cleanest, softest, like most of the track that we've ever done on that CD. Just kind of nestled in there. It's a bit like a B-roll kind of thing. It's there, and then the next 3 is like you can. Everyone I think will have sort of like a favorite style out of the 3 that we do. Some people might like the heavy one, some people might like the techie one, some people might like the more melodic kind of pretty sounding one. But yeah, the stuff after that is all just like the most nuts, heavy, fast, crazy that we've done. It's all like lots of blast beats, and there's a lot of blackened kind of elements going on, a lot of death metal stuff, and there's some nice melodic stuff on it too. But it's it's just super fucking cult and crazy, which is
it's gonna be nice to hear.
Really happy about in the band. Yeah, everyone likes that direction a lot. Yeah, no, it's been really fun to work on. It's just been quite effortless as well. Without trying to suck myself off too much, it was just like I just did it. And Reese came through with a demo where I was just like, "That's the opener. Like you just nailed the opening song on the thing. That's the opener for the next record and stuff." And yeah, a couple were like demos we'd had floating around since like before Cascadence. There's like a tune that I wrote ages ago that kind of resurfaced that's going to be on it. So we've gone back through old material and had a look and listened what would work. So yeah, it's just gonna be like super heavies.
Yeah,
we'll probably go back to a nice melodic thing after that.
Well, yeah. Do you want me to have a quick playthrough of Endeavour, just the intro, so that people can get the
tapping
contradiction?
Yeah, it's so totally different.
Yeah, go on then. Let's have a quick play. Just the intro bit, so people can really hear the distinction from where you started off with your first track and your first EP to where you headed up. It's great. So it's just that textures vibe that, hey, look, we got like the new Pliny coming here. Here's that kind of crowd. We got textures, Pliny, Jacob, and yeah, then you just come out of nowhere with Cascadence and just completely just we're flipping this over. Actually, we decided we're going to be heavier. We're a different band now. It's a real cool change, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing a new release.
Nice one, man. Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff that I've done where it's like I wanted to do 2 EPs at one point, and then we kind of weren't we hadn't decided what we were going to kind of go for, and it was like a bit mixed. And I wanted to do like a dual EP thing where like one of them's like the light side, one of them's like the dark side. There's always, for some reason, there's always a contrast, like a mirror or a split in what we do. I don't know why. It might be something to do with I'm a Libra or something like that, like balancing two sides. I don't know, but there's always like a yin yang basically, where you've got like the dark side of it and then the happier, sort of like slightly brighter side. So there's a bit of that on Cascadence as well. The songs actually do generally get a bit more positive and happy towards the end. And it's the same with Band's a bit different. It starts quite sweet and stuff, but it's going back to what I was saying about the writing stuff. I've got stuff where I was writing like prog tunes, but wanted to have like lo-fi hip hop as well, like in inside of it, like have it sort of like you get those nice beats to study to, that sort of thing, but just have that with the kind of metal that we make, and make it like super chill and super like kind of, I guess, happy and bright and colourful and stuff, as opposed to it being like dark. But then there's a really whack stuff happened in my life, and I was like, right, I've just got to get the emotion out of just the heaviest, the nastiest, dirtiest thing. So I was just said to the band, I was just like, right, the next album we're writing is just going to be horrendous. It's just going to be this just beast, demonic sound before we can do any pretty sweet stuff again. So yeah, hopefully by the time we put that out, something really positive will have happened or something like that, and we can write some really sweet sounding hip hoppy stuff that's got all these kind of like chibi elements and like anime kind of styles going on. But yeah, there's a couple of demos done for that as well. It's just like a big collection of work that we've got kind of just sitting about. I don't like wasting stuff, but I do like kind of sitting on things for a while and thinking, oh, maybe it's not the right time to put this out with what we're doing with the band. I think everyone's bang on wanting to do some really heavy stuff, because it's just it works well for live. Like if you've got like heavy riffs and stuff, it's just going to get people moving, get people enjoying heavy stuff. I think people come to a metal concert that most of the time they want to have their head blown off by how heavy something is. It seems to be that way. People like breakdowns, people like sort of heavy stuff that you can move to, people like the kind of riffs on the face, stink face, that sort of thing. So so yeah, I did. There's a ton of stuff there, and I think there's like a million one directions we could take at any given time, because we've got material for it. But the vibey weird hip hop stuff, I think I've got like, there's a couple of bits of it like on YouTube, like hidden away on like a YouTube account where I put it out, just release the demos. And that's quite cool, and that is just kind of hiding. I think one day that will materialize into being actual songs. There's definitely a couple of the tracks that I remember the rest of the band saying, "Oh, we should definitely use that." So yeah, it's like a really chill, happy kind of bright sounding record is not off the cards entirely, because it's there. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, good for you guys. You've really like got such a wide collection with such a few releases. That's the cool part, is that it's so varied. It's super progressive, and yet you got such a small selection. Yet it's still new. You're still in the creating process. You're still creating your catalog. So it's a real enjoyable listen to listen to through to both albums. Anyone listening to this podcast, you'll find the links to the albums. You should definitely check them out. Arcaeon are a great band. And yeah, like, since you're already playing live as well, if anyone is in that area, you should be going over to check them out. I'm sure it's not much to go see you live. And it's definitely going to be a good night out.
Yeah. It's always good.
Yeah, man. Plus you're playing with Exist and Mortal. They're always good to see. They're always great live.
Yeah, man. The boys. Yeah, man. They're sick. They're a great band, man. Everyone in that band we're really tight with as well. Good mates of ours. We don't play with them enough. It's a shame, but yeah, they're sick. They're awesome. Play with Anima Tempo as well.
Wild.
Are, bloody good. Yeah, man. They're really cool. So. Yeah, Tech Fest as well. That's definitely one place to come see us. It's going to be the last one, which is mental. But
wait,
still cool.
What do you mean?
We get to do it.
Is this the last Tech Fest?
The last one in its current thing. Yeah, that's what's been said on their thing. Yeah.
What? I did not see this.
There we go.
What do you mean in its current thing? What are you on about?
So I think they're going to probably do all-dayers and stuff like that, but the whole camping big festival thing is the last one. It's the last one.
Crazy.
It's kind of sad.
No way.
Yeah, man.
How come?
You heard it here first. That's cool.
Far
I guess
out.
yes. I
Yeah.
just wanted to do some other stuff, work on music, I think, and just wants to give doing that stuff for a rest because he's done it for like been planning it for 12 years straight and doing it. So I think he just wants a bit of a breather.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of work.
Yeah. This year, you've got a sick lineup, headlining, Suffocation, Chelsea
amazing.
Grin, Born of Osiris. You got Aborted, Loathe, Oceans, Alaska. Yeah, just name after name.
This is unreal.
Suffocation.
What? I can't wait for that.
Oh yeah, Sworn Amongst, Cage Fight, fucking. You got so many people, man. That is going to be an amazing. There we go. Arcaeon. Oh, they didn't put your little logo on it. They didn't put your logo on.
That's okay. We'll be all right. Maybe it's just takes up
We're
too
gonna have
much
to talk
real
to
estate.
Simon, mate. We're gonna have to talk to Simon. But, oi, we need our little logo here. People aren't gonna recognise us. Oh yeah, and I noticed actually, Forlorn's playing as well, and they're quite high up, so that's so good for them to actually get some recognition.
I've been in bands with two of the members of that band. It's jokes.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah,
so
was in
good for
Eric
them.
Curtin, who was in Clockwork with me, and I was doing a little band with Megan at one point, which is cool. Cool band.
Well,
had some fun times.
Yeah, we had Ethan on the show because Ethan used to be part of MEyou as well. So it's cool seeing his progression, see how he's pushed into this band, and they're doing wonders. They're wonderful bands as well.
Yeah, they're great, man.
Yeah. Well, I hope all the best for you with playing the last Tech Fest. You know, you got to fucking knock that one out, make it epic.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man.
Good luck with the new releases. I look forward to seeing them.
Cheers.
As for now, I feel like that's a good point. So, thanks for joining us on the show this week, Sam.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been great. I like chatting to you.
Yeah, well, you guys have a lovely night, and to anyone listening, all links will be in the description, and you'll be able to find the game. I'll put the link to the Arcaeon game as well, so anyone that's interested can have a real entertaining evening, having a little puzzle game while listening to the music. So, all the best to you guys. Have a good one.
All right, man. Take care, everyone.
Nice one.